This is my instrument. It's a Eurorack modular analog voltage-controlled synthesizer. Eurorack is the format. Modular because you can select from hundreds of modules from hundreds of builders. All the signals in the patch cords carry analog signals, and everything is controlled by changing voltages. The modules have unfamiliar names like the morphing terrarium, the wogglebug, the cormazbatron, plonk, or Platts, or prisma. Let's patch up a simple voice using a clock, a sequencer, an oscillator, a low-pass filter, a voltage-controlled amplifier, and an envelope generator. The clock generates a series of timed gates that drive the sequencer because gates make things happen. So let's patch the clock into the sequencer control voltage out into the oscillator to change its pitch because voltages make things change. The sequencer gate output to an envelope generator, the envelope generator to open up the amplifier when a gate comes in, the oscillator audio out to the filter, and the filter out to the voltage-controlled amplifier. And finally, we hear a sound. The morphing terrarium is an oscillator with 192 different waveforms that you can select with a knob or an incoming voltage. You can look at a waveform as a container for a collection of components called harmonics. Each waveform has a different sound, or timbre, depending on those harmonics. Other voltage-controlled oscillators have different sets of waveforms and parameters, also controlled by voltages. The low-pass filter, or VCF, subtracts harmonics from the incoming signal to mold the sound. The envelope generator is responsible for the shape of the notes, from tiny, short, plucky ones to long, slow attacks and decays. There are some limitations with this modular stuff. Mainly, there is no memory, no presets. It's possible that when you pull all your patch cords, you may never hear that one sound again. Of all the modules, sequencers are my favorite. I fell madly in love with the first ones I ever saw. This Buchla 146 16-stage sequential controller and the Moog 968 stage from 1970 fascinated me. I mean, gosh, that's a lot of money for something that's just going to repeat over and over and over again. They took a long time to program within a melody, so you were stuck with what you dialed in for any live performance. I use a 512 Vector now. 6 musical voices, plus 2 more for drums, giant memory, and great for live performance. So let's start a new sequence from scratch. We'll make an 8-note sequence that always runs forward on 8th notes in the key of C major. And start the clock. We don't hear anything because we haven't turned on any gates for the notes. And you know what that means? Oh, yeah. So let's add some gates. And then we can change some pitches. And the vector will loop through this until the end of time, which is fine, but it'll get boring. So let's add some changes, like ratcheting, which are repeats on certain notes. Here on notes 2, 4, 5, and 7. Sometimes it's interesting to change the length of the sequence. Let's take it down to 4, or 2, and change the first step to one a little later. I'll turn off those ratchets. The chance function is very cool. There are lots of probability possibilities, but I'll turn on ratcheting for steps 3 and 6. and turn up probability to about 50%. And let's say on step 7, I want the note to go up 7 semitones. And on step 2, I want it to go down by 5 semitones. About 2/3 of the time. I can add another layer of modulation, in this case, octave jumps, using another 4-note sequencer just for this part. Already more interesting. Let me turn off the gates for notes 3 and 7. I said 7. Under pitch control, I can add bends at the ends of the notes. Let's turn all those off just for kicks. Here's our part playing back as 16th notes. The heart of the beast is the scene page. Here I have access to all 8 parts, but I'm only using 4 now and another one for drums. Here are some of the patterns I've set up for part 1. I can pick a pattern on the fly, like this. Here's part 2, a mixture of slower notes to contrast the faster part 1. Here's part 3. This uses my favorite sound maker, the rings. This part changes key a little bit to change it up. Here's a little bit of part 4. And here are some drums out of part 7. So let's put them all together.
you.